Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh. Oh, what's this? Hey, Elmo. Apparently we got another video to do. Discord wants me to check it out. Hey, did I say stop? What's up, grinders? Okay, here we go again. So, today we're going to be checking out this video right here that you see on your screen. It's called How to Learn Any Language and Bench Press 270 pounds in just a few months, weeks, days, hours. First up, I'm not American. I gotta go look up what that means. Okay, oh gee, okay, 122 kilograms. Nice. So, it's been recommended that I check out this video right here. Now, the first thing is, I've actually seen a video from this guy before, and if my memory serves me well, because I remember doing a review of this guy before, and I'll put a link in the pinned comment description below, but if my memory serves me well, he is the guy who basically said all Esperanto speakers were communists, all Latin learners were Nazis, all Tibetan learners were like Tibetan anarchists. I can't even remember what it was, but like he basically said if you learnt a language there was either a political reason or a sexual reason or both, okay? Oh, that's right, I almost forgot. He was the guy that said the best way to learn a language was to pimp yourself out. I shit you not. Go to like bars and become a male pimp, basically, okay? So, I haven't seen this video at all. We're gonna raw dog this one together, okay? So let's watch this video and see if we get any, like, really sick advice this time. Ah, shit, I forgot my headphones. One sec. Oh, I was totally not ready for this one, guys. I was kind of caught off guard. I was, like, preoccupied doing other things and shit. So it's like, yeah, just was not ready for it. But, how are you guys today? What have you been up to? You know, you been doing much? Yeah? I'm assuming, let's watch the video.
There are some things.
Bro, you can't just come out here with that head. Jesus Christ. Look at that is so goddamn shiny. Is that in my future? Guys, is that me in like 15 years? Bruh. The only difference is my eyes are blue.
That nobody says on the internet, not because they're ignorant of these facts, but because they have difficulty being 100% honest with the audience and being 100% honest with themselves.
Oh, I actually like how this is starting. So he's basically saying, people on the internet, you know, you're not 100% honest with yourself and stuff. And then obviously with others. You know, this is always an interesting thing for me because I don't try to hide anything from you guys. I think you probably figured that out. But like, I don't bother, because I figure you see it from me first, and then one day when someone else exposes it, it doesn't matter. You've already seen it, okay?
Let's go over the 4 things, the 4 secrets that are hidden in plain sight for how you, yes you, can learn any language at any level as rapidly as possible.
Okay, so now we're talking about secrets. I don't think we're going to be getting the honest truth today. It's never good when people talk about secrets.
And I'm not going to give you any vague bullshit. I'm going to tell you how it really works. All kind of coaches who are selling you ebooks and have hit videos here on YouTube about this, they'll say some really vague and encouraging things about motivation. Well, you know, the most important thing is your motivation. Let's get real, people. What do you mean by motivation? The single most powerful motivating force for human nature is fear.
Okay. You must fear your language. That's my takeaway from that.
Whether you want to learn a language or whether you want to increase your physical strength from lifting 200 pounds to 240 pounds, from 240 pounds to 270 pounds, when you go to the gym, nothing motivates you more powerfully than fear. Fear for your life, fear you're going to get beaten up in the streets, fear of what.
As soon as he said that, like my first thought was, okay, so I have to have fear of my life in the gym. Just stack on those weights to the point where if I don't lift them off of me, I will die. Is that That was like what I was thinking then. Is that like what we're planning to try and do here? But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, you know? He might actually have some valid points here.
Whatever it is, organized crime, someone's out to get you. No, you know what? And even if you talk to competitive athletes, the desire to win is not that powerful. The desire to earn money, the desire to have fame, the desire to be a champion, none of that stuff compares to fear for your life, okay? You will wake up and study Cambodian at 6 a.m. so goddamn hard if it's because you're terrified that you have to walk around in the streets of Cambodia and meet people face to face speaking in Cambodian to try to find a landlord and try to make sure your landlord isn't going to rip you off.
I thought this was going to go a totally different direction, and I'm going to be completely honest. I thought, like, because you're about to end up in a Cambodian jail because you got caught with your drugs and shit, and you got to learn Cambodian so you don't end up being the guy who's constantly picking up soap. And I thought he was going to then break into a story about, you know, how he has lived experience with this. But no, it's just about landlords and stuff. Like, Jesus Christ, I know landlords can be a bit scary, but they're not that scary.
And deal with petty street criminals and all this stuff. Look, this is 2019. In some ways, Cambodia...
Jeez, this video is old. Why are you guys recommending this to me?
...is less rough than it used to be 10 and 20 years ago. And you know what? In some ways, it's rougher. In some ways, Cambodia is sketchier. And frankly, if you want to be safe in Cambodia, you probably need to speak 3 languages. Just keeping it real, I was never held at gunpoint in Cambodia or Laos.
Okay, I get the feeling that Cambodia is going to be copping a lot of shit in this video. What did Cambodia do to you, my man? There's some stories there, I guarantee it. Like, he's using it as like a reference point at the moment, but no one goes this far in depth on Cambodia unless Cambodia did something to you.
I know a lot of people who were held at gunpoint in Cambodia and Laos. And I know one guy who was held at gunpoint with machine guns and managed to talk his way out of it, too. The gift of the gab, man. If you are afraid that you're living in a corrupt dictatorship where the police will take you in and interrogate you and charge you with crimes unfairly and hold you hostage, like try to extort money from other people by holding you hostage or try to extort money out of you, and I have been in that situation. I have talked my way out of that when I was living in the capital city of Laos. Didn't happen to me in Cambodia. It motivates you in a way no YouTube video possibly can. In a way that no ebook ever possibly.
You know, as funny as this is, it's probably true in some ways. Like, if you're in a situation where death is around the corner, unless you learn this language, you're probably going to be a lot more motivated. But how can we apply this to the everyday man? Like, for example, if I want to get fluent in Esperanto, what do I have to do? Do I just have to, you know, reach out to the Esperanto mafia and ask them to just threaten me type of thing if I don't learn the language? Or like, Japanese, should we just like start taking out loans that we can't pay back in order for the fact that then we have to learn Japanese really, really fast in order to talk our way out of this situation? I'm kind of curious to see how this can be applied to the everyday man.
In a way that no ebook ever possibly can. Okay, so that's point 1. Fear. Live in fear. Okay. Point 2. A lot of people are going to tell you BS about watching TV, watching movies. Another's going to tell you BS about flirt with girls, flirt with boys.
Whoa. What are you talking about? You gave us this advice in your previous video. You said that we should prostitute ourselves. At least I remember that correctly. Or maybe you were just telling us oh, that's right. You were telling us a story about your friend who was really good at Chinese, this friend of yours, because apparently he had been prostituting himself, but he was also sad on the inside because he was prostituting himself. And you actually gave us so many details about this specific friend of yours that I came to the conclusion after doing that review. I didn't say it in the video, but I'm pretty sure the friend was you. You know, it's like where you go up to someone, you're like, hey, can you give me, give my friend some advice? Like, he's in a tough situation, okay? So, he's been prostituting himself quite a bit recently. It seems quite sad. Like, you got any advice for my friend that I could, you know, pass on? You know?
Dating, love, romance, okay? The relationship you can ever possibly have with a Thai bar girl or a Japanese karaoke singer or your dreamy, college friend or whoever it is you meet, any kind of romantic relationship you can possibly have.
Notice again, guys, we're talking about, Japanese bar girls, Thai bar girls. Remember, from the first video, we're talking about a guy who was pimping himself at a Chinese bar. Now we're talking about Thai bar girls and Japanese bar. I don't know what's going on here, but there seems to be a lot of bars, a lot of girls, and apparently that does not lead to enough fear.
Pales in comparison to the relationship you would have, in terms of its value in language learning, with a grandparent or some older person acting in the caring but authoritarian role of a grandparent. Okay? Anyone you seduce, anyone who falls in love with you, they're not going to correct you, cajole you, hold you to a higher standard, and help you the way a grandparent will. Okay? And you know what?
This guy has clearly not married a Chinese girl before. I've actually had this conversation with a few people who I know ended up being in relationships with Chinese girls. They will correct you to the point where it gets painful sometimes, okay? And I'm sure it's not just them. I'm sure there's plenty of other cultures. In fact, drop a comment below if you have a partner who can be overcorrective of your mistakes to the point where it becomes painful and you're like, okay, just let me make the mistakes so I can practice.
The way a grandparent will, okay? And why do I compare these three things, okay? People think they're just going to, go to Japan, go to Thailand, go to Russia, get a girlfriend, and that's going to solve their problem. And
oh, Peter Coles, my man. I think you're getting called out here. You can't just go over to Russia and pick up those snow Latinas or whatever you called them.
Again, sorry, doesn't matter. Switch the genders, straight, gay, doesn't matter. A romantic relationship.
Yeah, we need to be inclusive, guys. Yeah, this is very inclusive.
Is really looking for the solution in the wrong places. Precisely because that person is going to love you in a certain way and treat you as an equal in a certain way. There's all these complexities. And you know what? Sorry, they may not treat you as an equal. You may be the boss. You may be the dominant one in a sexual relationship, and that's even worse for language learning, right? And in a sense, it's like Is
this talking from experience? Is this like an experience thing about being the dominant one and it wasn't great for your language learning? This implies that you've tried both outcomes here. You've been both the dominant and then the submissive. So you've been both the whipper and the whipped. You've tried both methods to learn a language, and you've come to the conclusion that being the whipped is the better. I guess in that case, you'd just be taking more commands, but you're not going to be firing back. Yeah.
Next step into absurdity, to think that watching entertainment, like films that are just supposed to make you feel happy or make you laugh or present you with a sequence of explosions that titillate you and thrill you, to think that that is what language education is about is really a profoundly stupid misapprehension of how language education works, okay? So point one was fear.
Yeah, I think the problem is, though, I can't just go online and buy Dreaming Fear Spanish, and then I sign up to the service, I log into the website, and something pops up my screen, and it says, please give access to your location. I'm like, oh, okay. I click yes, and then the next thing it says, you better be learning Spanish, you got 24 hours, and then a clock starts counting down. Like, Dreaming Fear Spanish does not exist. But if it did, you can guarantee my ass I'm doing a series on that.
Point two was you're looking under the wrong rock if you're looking for romance or you're looking for entertainment, when what you should be looking for instead is somebody like a grandparent, someone who's going to care for you, care about you, hold you to a higher standard, look disapprovingly at your handwriting, tell you that you're lisping ever so slightly, you're pronouncing something ever so slightly.
So you're basically talking about a mentor. Basically. So you could get the grandparent person to do it, I guess, someone who's willing to do this for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. You could also just pay a teacher. That way they are obligated to listen to your bad language and give you feedback.
I forget points 3 and points 4. I could edit them in later or not.
2,000 years later.
Point 3 out of 4 is put your
So was this filmed during the time of Christ? And now it's 2,000 years later? Or was this filmed in 2016? We're now in the era, the period in time in which humans have finally dominated Pluto and reborn it back as a planet.
yourself in a good sociolinguistic context. And nobody wants to talk about this one because it's so hard to do right planning things out in advance. And it's so hard to cope with after the fact if you somehow did it wrong, if you found yourself in a bad situation. There is a profound world of difference. We're throwing aside the academic jargon here. There is a profound difference between being in a context where people are apprehensive and suspicious of you as a foreigner learning their language, and where people are actually warm and giving and generous and helpful, where they're happy and gratified that you're a foreigner learning their language, okay? I have been in situations where I was the white guy who spoke Laotian suspiciously well and was studying Buddhism and had suspiciously good handwriting also. My handwriting in Laotian was great. I could write the ancient language of Buddhism, Pali. And where people dead serious regarded me as an American spy.
I would love to see him speaking these languages, because it's pretty rare that you meet a white guy who actually speaks these languages or writes them.
They regarded me as working for the CIA. And I remember he even got back to like, oh yeah, he says he's Canadian. People who work for the CIA always say they're Canadian. Like,
you know, the crazy thing is, okay, in some ways, I could kind of believe that's true, okay? And it set him down this path of fear that, for whatever reason, in his younger age, he decided to go study the most random of languages, you know, went over there, and it was just so random that they were like, this guy clearly is a spy, and then he ended up getting gun pointed at him and all sorts of crazy shit, and now he just lives in fear of that moment in all his life. And if that's true, my God, my man, you must have some epic stories to tell. Tell us the actual stories, okay? Because I would be more interested in that.
it was more suspicious that I said I wasn't American, that I was a Canadian citizen. Yeah, they have fake passports all the time, those guys, right? Where people are like, why are you learning our language? Why are you out here in these tribal villages by the border? Why are you doing this humanitarian work? There must be something going on. And those people knew I wasn't there to get laid. I wasn't there for my sex life. I wasn't the usual kind of aging tourist in Southeast Asia. You seem highly motivated to learn our language. That's a bad thing.
You know, I've only seen one other video of this guy, and I don't know how many of his stories are actually true. How many are hyperbolic, and how many are just complete bullshit. Because if you watch, like, just literally 2 of his videos, apparently he's been everywhere. Like, literally everywhere type of thing. In East Asia, I guess. But at the same time, he seems to have this, like, hatred for East Asia in some of his videos. So it's like, God, is this all just bullshit? Or is it all real? Or is part of it at least real?
That is a bad sociolinguistic context. Being in a context where people, they don't feel comfortable or positively motivated to explain their own language to you. But how do you put yourself in a good sociolinguistic context? How do you put yourself in a context where more people behave towards you in that grandmotherly way that I've already described, where people are really, positively reinforcing what you're learning?
I would say probably don't put yourself in a border region where they're expecting CIA spies. Maybe just don't do that. Maybe go to a different region.
And challenging you and practicing the language with you in a way that's receptive and positive, and hopefully not flattering you, but they're really, helping you on the road to fluency. How do you put it? That's the answer to that question. You can't find in any PDF, and you can't get it from this YouTube video. It's really, really hard. And 2 different places in the same country, like 2 different places in Laos, totally different situation. I'm sure 2 different places in Mongolia, totally different situation. You can be in a situation where people are really apprehensive of outsiders, and you can be in a situation where people are really positively inclined towards a foreigner learning their language with whatever set of motivations. And I think historically, one of the big reasons nobody dealt with this is exactly that it gets into religion and politics. Let's face it, the history of translation, the history of...
By the way, guys, if you haven't seen my previous video with him, everything comes down to politics with this guy. I'm actually surprised up until this point he hasn't gone too deep into politics.
Of almost every obscure form of language research has been dominated by religious missionaries. Christians translating in the Bible, occasionally Muslims translating the Quran, whatever it is. Religious fanatics have historically dominated advanced linguistic studies, learning, teaching. If you just get into who wrote the dictionaries, who published the materials to these languages, it's them, and then they hand the torch to, colonial schools, like French Empire and British Empire schools set up in those areas that, again, were very often staffed by religious fundamentalists, by priests and what have you. All right, so nobody wants to talk about that.
Yes, we understand history of most nations. We get this. How can we apply this, though?
Okay, but it's crucial. A good sociolinguistic context. And finally, economic desperation, right? Nobody is really going to be honest with you about this either. I think that economic desperation is a very distant fourth place compared to all the rest of these. Economic desperation will never really work for you in the same way that fear does and the other points I've mentioned. But yeah, I mean, it's really funny. Jeremy Corbyn just lost the elections, and I said, look, I don't assume that.
I told you, we're going to get back into politics. Oh, God, come on.
Rich people are bad people just because they're rich. But, it is funny in Western culture, there are all these kind of defects of character that we associate with people who are born rich, people who, don't have to work hard, people who are motivated in this way. And there's no doubt that, economic desperation in every way.
Okay, I feel like we've kind of lost the trail again. It happens with this guy. He will start going on a tangent and then it's just gone. And by the way, bench press 270 pounds. I didn't hear anything about that. Man, I got all dressed up for that and everything. I got my bench pressing pants on. Okay, maybe it's in this last 5 seconds.
Whether it's just that it makes you really scrutinize what you're buying at the grocery store. It may sound like BS, but it's not. That you're not just like, oh, fine, I'll just get some bananas. It's like, no, I was in Taiwan and I took the time to ask in Chinese, which one of these bananas costs less per kilogram? Because one had the price by kilogram and the other had the price per banana. You know what I mean? And I went up and I had this conversation.
Fucking, bro, can you stop LARPing over here? Jesus Christ. I literally grew up in a goddamn caravan. And even I don't go on about being poor this much. Obviously, I'm not anymore, because when you're poor, the one thing you don't want to be is fucking poor. Okay? You figure out a way to not be goddamn poor. Fucking hell. Jesus. There's one thing I hate more than anything else in the world. It's someone who's never been actually poor, LARPing what it's like to be poor. Okay? Most people who have actually been poor and have got some fucking brain cells will find a way to get out of that shit because it sucks balls. We get it, okay? But you know what? It also doesn't lead to learning a language. Now, as he said, economic desperation's not the best way to do it. I guess maybe there's some random cases it will, but what the fuck was this video about, man? My brain is fried. Okay, let's try summarize this into an actionable plan. So, fear is the best way to learn a language, okay? But also, you want to be in a linguistically happy place. So you don't want fear. What the fuck are you trying to teach us? Should we be in fear? Or should we be in a motherly environment in which we have someone who helps us thrive by providing us with corrections and stuff? Like, I have no fucking idea what you're getting at. Okay, oh God. Okay, let's go around again. So, we start with fear. Fear good. Fear make you learn. Then we went into being in a shitty location. And then apparently we're in the CIA. And then this leads to Jeremy Corbyn or something. Oh, I don't know. I'm fucking over it, guys. What the hell? Okay, like this video, sub to the channel, whatever. Fucking don't sub. I'll see you all in the next video.